Hi, welcome to Alberni Thrive. I'm Alicia LaRue.
And I'm Eric Plummer.
And today we'll be discussing transparency, the sale of our city land. I find it's a really exciting time to be part of Port Alberni. Lots of really neat things happening right now.
There's this critical period that Port Alberni is going through right now where it's trying to rediscover itself. And there's a lot of discussion about what works for Port Alberni, what's great about Port Alberni, what needs to be changed in Port Alberni. So on May 24th, the city made two big announcements entailing the sale of two significant pieces of public land. These include the Westport Park for $163,000 for the expansion of the Rainbow Gardens Seniors Care Facility, and also the old Alberni plywood lot on the waterfront to a subsidiary of Canadian Maritime Engineering for $250,000. Now, both of these developments propose to bring two things that the community desperately needs: jobs and beds for seniors care. But questions remain after these sales, after the decisions were reached, after a series of in-camera discussions that took place out of the public eye. Here we're going to try and shed some light on the issue, and we're lucky to be joined by City Councillors Jack McClellan and Dennis Sobe. Thanks very much for joining us today, gentlemen.
Thank you. No problem.
So to begin with the Rainbow Gardens sale, what can we expect from this?
Yeah, either one
You
of
can
us?
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. What I expect from it is that the government will now be able to offer the Rainbow Gardens, and they'll be able to negotiate with the government for funds to do two things. First of all, they'll be able to put in high-level care on the property they already have, and they're looking at using part of what is now a park for alternate care, and I'm not sure of the exact words because I call it cabins for seniors, and it's not quite that, so I'm probably going to have the wrong word for you, and that's to use part the park, and the rest of it is going to be park. Mm-hmm. They've said they would take a chance, and I should qualify here that anything that is in camera, I can't repeat that or else I can lose my seat on council. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to be careful, but if they've said it outside, then I can, and I understand they have made the comment that they're willing to take a chance that it doesn't get zoned for what they want, and if that happens, and I'm presuming that's when that kickback would come back in, where we would buy the property back at the same price that they're paying for it. So they have a plan for quite a good park there, I thought. One that would be used, one for seniors, one for kids, even that thing that old people do with, I saw on a plan. Pickleball. Yeah. I mean, you got to stand in one spot and go like this, right? Mm-hmm. Right. That's us old guys. We like it.
Yeah, keep moving.
Dennis, you've described yourself as a seniors advocate. Why is this development important for the community?
Well, it's important for the community. As you're well aware, we have a lot of backlog at the hospital and so forth. Even if this opportunity here only gives us what is planned as into 12 beds or even more, at least it's going to alleviate a bit of what's going on at the hospital. And, we're looking forward to it, and I know there's been discussions with the Westport residents. They always had concerns. You see, being a politician, you come to a point that we're being elected to make decisions. And that's a tough spot to be because you got to look at both parties, and at the beginning of the stages with the Rainbow Gardens, it's only open now. They came to City Council, which was an open meeting, everybody could attend, and they came with a plan.
Now, did they come to the city to begin with, or did the city come to them? Like, did the city say, we've got this piece of property and we want to sell it? Or did Rainbow Gardens come to the city?
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All I remember is that there was meetings within council, and at council at this time thought that the project itself, there's more to be added. There was not enough meat to the bone to say that we would make a definite decision. And also we needed to hear input from Westport residents, which is totally getting the community involved. They left the table after the fact, and to the point that, with an understanding that there would be a community consultation between both parties with the city and all that. This is when the idea was that Rainbow Garden had asked to have city representation on their board, which Councillor Sherry Minions is, to try and get something together and that would satisfy all parties. And like Jack just mentioned, now there's actually going to be, it's in the works. It's not a done deal yet. Nothing has been signed. There's still a rezoning process to go through, and there's still, community involvement. Anytime we have to deal with a land sale that has to do with rezoning, there has to be a community hearing. And that's what we're just waiting for to happen now.
Just to give a bit of history on this, if anyone isn't familiar, this sale came up over a year ago, and it ended up going to a public hearing early last year. And there was an awful lot of people that came to City Hall from the Westport neighborhood who were very concerned about losing their park that is in the middle of this neighborhood. Council ended up not deciding to sell the land at that point. With what we have right now, is this a result of hearing those concerns and trying to meet the needs of the people in the Westport neighborhood as well as the needs of the greater community?
Because of that meeting, unfortunately, when Rainbow Gardens came the first time, not the first time, the first time was 2 councils ago, which would be quite a few years ago. And we gave them options on other property, and they went back to look at it, and it wasn't functional for them. They came to the last council, and most of the plans were passed by the last council, both in camera and in public. And then the council changed. And that's when that public hearing took place, and that's when the decision was made to not do it at that time. And so now we're on this council, and this council is new. There was new, not anymore. A couple of years almost into it. I think they're doing a good job. I think we all are to the point. And a lot of the councillors, when they first got on the campaign trail, thought that they would be able to campaign on a lot more open meetings, and that's probably the best thing you can campaign on. Unfortunately, you get on council, and the first lesson you get is what you're not allowed to talk about in public meetings, and those lessons are given usually by staff or by consultants. And this time they had more lessons than I've ever seen before. So maybe I said something bad on the campaign trail. They wanted to make sure. I don't know.
And that's kind of unfortunate with the process, though, as a citizen living in the area. Is, I personally believe in engaging people throughout the political process. And so now the charter that you guys are following, do you, obviously you do it on purpose, the in-camera meetings, but would you say that there's a difference between the in-camera meetings now and before the past?
Well, I would say...
why? It just seems like there's a lot right now. And that's, as a citizen, you're like, what's going on?
It does seem like
Yeah,
it. Probably a couple more, but not much more is in camera. In the charter, it says that if you got one subject that should be in camera, the whole meeting should be. And we have over the years, and this council hasn't changed anything, just put the things in that have a separate meeting for in camera, and just put those things that have to be in there. The staff of over the past several councils have told us, and I don't blame them for this, but it makes it awkward, that they will put anything in camera on the agenda that can be. So there's some things can be in camera if it works out that way for both parties, and other things have to be by law in camera. And they're very small. They're mostly personnel issues and so on that have to be in camera.
What about before you go in camera? I know that there's probably issues that you guys are talking about, but can you let the public know, hey, we're thinking about maybe doing this. What do you guys think? Right? Because you might come up with some good ideas that way too.
Before any type of in-camera meeting, there's always a bulletin that goes out to say we're having an in-camera meeting. And you can rest assured.
What,
no, it doesn't say what on a certain subject, because we're dealing with 3 issues. And I'm new at council. This is my first year, but I did my homework before. I know about the community charter. I come from an environment where it was law enforcement. I know the criminal code from page 1 to 420. You know, it doesn't take much to understand what the rules and regulations are. The thing is, myself, when I went on a campaign, I had an understanding of that. But the thing is, me, it was to fight to bring whatever is in camera out of camera and when it's appropriate time. Now, in camera, we're dealing with labor issues, we're dealing with bylaws, and we're also dealing with, you know, land issues, purchasing of land and all that. Why is that in camera? Well, that's the big question people are asking. But after you learn and you're being involved in the in-camera meeting, you could see why. Because you get certain people coming to make proposals and they don't want other people and negotiations and so forth on the price of the land or the agreements and so forth. So I could see why it's in camera. But the public has to be rest assured that, you know, each one of us on council, and council I'm speaking on behalf of the mayor also, we don't get up in the morning thinking, how are we going to deceive or hide something from the public? It's quite the opposite. The council is made of so many diverse persons. Are we a unified council? My answer is yes, because we're all there for the better of Port Alberni. Now, do we have difference of opinion? Absolutely yes, we do have a difference of opinion. On these certain subjects that you do mention, both sites and all that, you know, was there a difference of opinion? Absolutely. So it all comes down to democracy as in who has the major vote and who gets to carry on.
But that's a hard thing about democracy, even like looking at the charter.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, that there is a reason for it to be in camera, but democracy is involving people in the process.
But keep in mind, who are the people?
Yeah.
Can we have a public meeting every time that city council has to make a decision?
But like something like land sale, yes.
You see,
I'd say land sale is a huge thing.
But the thing is, you'd be amazed how many land sales issues we have
Yeah.
within in camera. I was amazed.
Yeah.
From a certain property being rezoning and all that. As soon as we talk about rezoning, it is going to be a public hearing. But if it's within a zoning area, industrial to remain industrial, and there's lots more to certain issues on certain properties. But the thing is, we have to be there. This is why we elected some representative. You know, this is why the people, before they go to the ballots and vote for the candidate, they always look and see, what does he believe in? This
Yes.
is the time for the public to go see the candidate and say, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
You know, Canal Beach, extended care, how do you
True.
feel about the economy and all that? These are the key questions.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
But I mean, not that I want to, bring this up, but I mean, Mike ran on transparency. So that right there is a little bit frustrating, seeing that and wanting to be as... Yeah, exactly.
But none of them had been there before.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that, the only ones who.
So you're saying that ultimately they're like, it's transparency, but when the actual legality
But
comes down to
you
it,
run
it's
into a
like,
bit of a trouble.
yeah.
Over the years, until this council, in fairness to this council and Mike, I was, I've got to be careful what I say too, don't I?
Yeah, yeah. No,
I was
that's
about
it.
the
You
only
don't
one
have
who
to
would
be,
vote,
like-
who would make a motion to take
Yeah.
something out of council in the previous 3 councils.
Yeah.
I'd get seconded very often by one councillor, particularly Cindy Solda. She was very, seconding me quite often for that.
Yeah.
But this council, there's been a few other people besides me who have made a comment to bring something out of camera. So that is actually something the public can be
Yeah.
at least feel encouraged about, that
Okay.
that it would be a better chance of coming out, because there are a lot of things we do in camera that are allowed to be there because they're property law and whatever the other one is, and
Rezoning. Yeah.
no, not rezoning.
Oh, no.
Rezoning's got to
rezoning
be in the
is
public.
public. Yes,
And,
okay.
and even with, with the one at Rainbow Garden, there's
Yeah.
labor law and
Yeah.
land.
Yeah, yeah.
Land sales.
Yeah.
And they don't all have to be in there, especially land sales. If we got something for sale, like we have, we put up a property for sale down on Gertrude Street, or Stamp, whichever one it's called down there. And I still like throwing the word. Anyway, and it's right out there. It's an RFP.
Yeah, yeah.
Please respond if you want to
You're
buy it
interested.
and
Okay.
see when they come, and it has to be rezoned. So,
Yeah.
and that's why people don't respond to these sometimes, because what happens is they respond.
Yeah.
Then we have a public hearing. Everybody, that there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they go away and say, you're not open for business.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we had that down at the bottom of Argyle when I first got on council quite a few years ago. They were going to do something to run behind the Carmer block.
Yeah.
I think that was a condominium development,
Yeah.
There was some sort of a
I think that was a
condominium type
condominium. Yeah.
development, yeah.
Yeah.
But I sort of, like I say, I was coming on council and just sort of looking at it, and it was, before I got on, or by the time I got on, it had died because of the opposition.
Yeah, interesting. Well, anyways, on that note, we're just going to cut to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to Alberni Thrive. Today we're talking about government land sales in the municipality and maintaining transparency in the process. So another thing I want to touch on is the sale of the old plywood land on the waterfront, directly north of Canal Beach. $250,000 for this land. What can we expect to see from this?
Well, we can, if it goes through properly like it was planned, we expect to see commercial and development and some jobs.
How many jobs are we talking about? 5
I'm
jobs, 10
I'm not
jobs?
going to stick my neck out and say how many jobs are there. I've been through this process now about 4 times, maybe 3, over the past several councils, and different people have come with different ideas. The unfortunate problem is, for the city, is that we have this property that was given to us from McMillan Bloedel way back when for a great big dollar, under the condition that it only be used for industry, no overnight stays, no recreation, no anything. And at that time, the city residents said, great, we're going to get jobs back. The plywood mill had just shut down with 300 jobs, and APD had cut back, Solmas had cut back, the pulp mill had cut back, the logging camps had cut back. We were in trouble. And so the company said, aha, here's the property, now you find some jobs for it. And that was a problem. And I was one of the cheerers saying, yeah, let's go do it. But over the years, it's been a problem. And that restrictive covenant is still on.
So, I mean, looking at this, we've got 5 acres of waterfront property that we're selling for what you can get for a 1-bedroom condominium in Vancouver. Is this a problem property that the city is just trying to get rid of?
Well, the bill to clean it up is $6 million.
Well, and Dennis. But I mean, that,
Sorry?
yeah, no worries.
No,
We'll get back to that.
It all comes down to this, and locally, everybody knows I've always been a Canal Beach advocate, always. I even lost my lawnmower volunteering to cut the grass there. But the thing is, when it comes to the decision making, as into what to do, we got to understand what is the best interest of the whole community at large. Now, the restriction, the covenant that's been in place, and I believe it was Western Forest Products at the time, when they sold the land for $1, are still not interested in releasing that restriction. So, number
Now,
one.
did you guys ask them to release it, or did you
it's
tell
already-
them?
No, we didn't tell them.
Yeah,
The thing is, there's some stuff that's in camera within the sales deal that I can't talk about.
yeah, that's
But the
right.
thing is, it's been publicly said by the mayor in the paper that they were not interested in changing the covenant. So what position does this put the city? It puts the city in a position, number one, in the city, I'm talking about council, when we're in camera and dealing with the land sale. You know, did we need to go out in the public? No, because it's a land sale, it's in camera. But we have to do what's best for the Port Alberni residents. Now, I always thought, number one, expanding with the extra 5 acres and so forth and all that. You know, I've always been taught that don't start a new project until you finish one. To me, Canal Beach itself is an unfinished project, okay? I set priorities. Even in my mandate, I've always said, you know, transparency, accountability. I will do anything, and plus many other councillors, to fight whatever's in camera and bring it out to the public so the public knows about it. But when it comes back to the dealings we had on that, is that we did our due diligence and to figure out through Environmental Canada, what is the responsibility of the rest of the acreage? Now, we have people that are going on and saying we could just pave, cap it, put some earth and seeding it.
It is capped though.
Already, yes, but
yes.
putting some dirt and seeding it would fix the problem. Absolutely not. Environmental Canada actually has laws, and these laws are no different than when we got a local gas station moving, changing business, that they have to dig up the tanks. They don't just take out the tanks. Environmental Canada sets us to make sure we or the business that's there meets certain requirements to clean up the property before it's accessible to any public. Now we're facing the same situation right there.
So for sure, that's not ever an option in the future, is making that a brownfield?
Yeah,
It could never happen. Or could,
under
like,
the law, the Environmental Canada
Yeah.
states that pretty much, and I even phone Ottawa on this,
Yeah.
it's sometimes locally I'm listening to Joe and Jane and everything.
Yeah.
I rather hear from the experts.
For sure, yeah.
And the thing is, they're telling me that before that could be made any public access, it has to be cleaned up as per Environmental Canada standards.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. It's been in 2013, we had a price of $5.6 million. It's a bit more now. So we got that.
Now, what's the difference between Canal Beach and there? Is it just because there's
The
like
higher concentration of
Yeah.
contamination is mostly on the other properties.
Yeah, okay.
And all that. And keep them in mind, when you see that the part of the deal is that, where the fence is, that could actually be brought in a bit more.
Yeah.
But they choose not to.
So now, question: did you guys like the user group? Like anytime on a Saturday, a nice sunny day, you go down to Canal Beach and you see families using it. You see kids in the water. Now, with this sale, did you guys take that into consideration when you were talking to the buyer as to I know that doing marine, is there going to be any oil in the as far as environmental? Are they going to keep up to those standards, and are they going to regularly test the water so that because there's going to be kids playing there and people use it, people love it, and I know that you go there. I recommend if you get a chance to go down and just see people with their dogs in the park. It's quite enjoyable. But I'm just wondering if that was taken into account with this new company coming in. How are they going to work together? And did you talk to any of the user groups about the sale?
Well, the company coming in has to follow all the environmental standards.
Yeah.
And they have to fix it up to whatever standard it is. If we could have subdivided it, which we could not because of the
Because of the
environmental...
covenant?
No, because of the environmental problem. But it has already been subdivided once, because
Yeah.
initially it was all one funny shaped lot, that L-shaped lot. And then the city, long before I was on council, decided to subdivide it to try and sell it easier, because it just wasn't moving in one lump. And Lot C, which is now what we call Canal Beach, is great. I don't go down there every day, but I go down a fair bit midweek. Not many people usually there. I don't expect them to be, but it's a nice place. I like the way that the Parks and Rec Department and Engineering Department have gone down there. I like that gravel. I'm a bit nervous of low tide. It's still an awful lot of stuff in there. It hasn't really been cleaned up well. And I believe we still have a sign there about non-swimming.
Now, who's going to clean that up?
Well, that's the problem. It's the city's got to do it. The city taxpayers are on the hook for all of this. And so basically, my personal...
But a lot of local people go there and do clean up. We
Oh,
have
they do.
constant cleanups.
Before we run out of time, I
Yeah.
need to ask a question here. So
Okay.
we've got a piece of land, and we know that this has hardly been used for anything else other than sorting logs for the last 25 years. 1991, I believe, was when the private site shut down.
I'm trying to count the years.
Okay. So we have, all of a sudden, there's a sale of this land, which came as a big surprise to me as a resident here. Would there have been any way to incorporate the public's concerns into that decision? Was that ever considered?
Well, I guess previous councils we've had public input previously, and I guess that's a hard question. How we could just go out and do it? What do you think? We never did get any real plans on that, and when we did Canal Beach, we went and made a member of council went and made an announcement to the press back, and we're going to have this as a beach. Forgot to mention it to Western Forest Products. And we went in to try and, Western Forest Products at that point, we were negotiating with them for an industrial road. And I walked into the meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, they said, "You're out of here. You guys have betrayed us on this Canal Beach thing."
Right.
And that's sort of public information from before, previous councils. And that kind of put us off on our defensive, because we're in a situation where we have our second largest taxpayer who pays the bills, like it's all the taxpayers that pay the bills. The largest being Catalyst, the second largest being Western Forest.
Where does people fit in? Like,
And
where do
that's
home
where I'm-
buyers fit
Dennis, it
in?
looks like you've got
Yes,
something to say.
I just want to make sure you elaborate on something. Was there a timing where the public could have been involved? Absolutely. But with that said, the reasoning behind it is with the sale of the lots. In camera, information stays inside. Then the city could actually have made a decision to say, no, we're not going to entertain that deal. We're going to decide to put the property for sale. And then we had a right to have a public meeting, which is different than a public hearing itself. But we could have had a public meeting about what we want for there.
Right.
But as council, now keep in mind, council is a representative of everybody voted for council. You can't be all there for the same decision and everything. So everybody was there we had to make a decision. And when we saw that we were getting no tax-based money from the park itself, and we were able to have an opportunity to have a tax income coming in, and not only that, have industry tax coming in, not only that we have income coming in from the sale, because it all has to do with priority.
Yep.
Priority. I would love that brand new swimming pool in my backyard, but I got to fix the roof on my house that's leaking. It all comes down, and I've already said it before, infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure.
Yeah.
Our own engineer has said how aging our infrastructure is.
Yeah.
We got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And for me to see an unfinished project as Canal Beach itself as it is,
Yeah.
which I want more work to be done,
Yeah.
there's other priorities for our taxpayers.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to our taxpayers to make sure they have livable, good water coming in and sewage and all that.
Yeah, it's just
So-
it's hard for I find for myself personally is you guys had a lease with this company for
Port,
2.5
Port Authority and
Port
all that.
Authority did,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, but you go down there, it was a bit of an eyesore. So my question is this company, are they going to do what they say, and are they, I guess
Well-
if they don't, then you got 3 years for it to be an eyesore again.
First of all, you got to understand the deal's not done yet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
A lot of people say it's already done, they're just going through this masquerade thing. The deal's not done yet. But when or if it is done and all that, they have responsibilities. The contamination that they have to deal with, it's their responsibility now as landowners.
Yeah.
We got that big burden taken away from us. Now, there's certain requirements that after a certain time they have to build something. It's out in the open and all that. And if that is not met, then the city could get involved again.
Yeah.
And then it's up and opens what we're going to do.
Yeah,
But the
okay.
thing is, we got to deal with the infrastructure. That's the biggest priority for me.
For sure.
As the priority.
Yeah. Now, infrastructure what's your biggest priority? Just quickly.
Well, my biggest priority is I can't say infrastructure is the biggest priority, but it's
Yeah.
really high up there.
Okay.
My biggest priority in my mind when I make decisions is jobs and the economy. And I guess that's my background. I didn't grow up, but I worked in the forest industry in Port Alberni all my life, all my adult life, and it disappeared. Now, can we get something back? Yeah, I think we can. I think if, and this has always been a big if with me, I don't believe many people when they tell me they're going to invest money anymore because like you say, we've had 3 options down there, 3 people's coming and they haven't done a thing. And we've put it up on an RFP and nobody bid. And those that did didn't do anything. There was someone in town that had a really good idea, had cash,
Yeah.
and politics got in the way of somewhere.
Well,
and
you know what though?
died.
Don't you think though, like with part of that is anyways,
a long time
yeah,
ago.
we're but you guys
But anyway,
thank you. Yeah, I mean
my idea is jobs.
Yes, thank you. And you know what? The thing is like thank you guys so much for coming. And we'd like to do more shows and get a little bit deeper into this. And I appreciate both of you guys being
And we'd
here.
like to hear what you think about these issues, so please comment on albernithrive.com.